We are losing the people who have the right values because the people who do right are the losers in the end.
I want to find out, has it always been your conversation from the beginning of your entrepreneurship?
I guess so, but not so vividly. Africa is failing. We can talk about all sorts of things. Mindset, it all boils down to the leadership, right? If the president has the kind of values that we're talking about, we will see immediate change in Ghana or any other country. There are murderers in America more than here. They kill, they even go to schools and kill.
At the peak of success, business is working, everything is working. Where was the mindset of let's train leaders?
Good question. We should have harsher institutions with harsher sanctions happening like hot plate.
But have you not seen this regime before? Today you have the PK Amoabeng Leadership Foundation.
Yeah.
And I was checking the board. I saw some great people on the board, who are incredible entrepreneurs, and some of them have led certain positions in the country.
Yeah.
But the question I was asking myself is, your generation has done a lot of work for this country and for Africa, whether it's positive or negative. My question is, how different is your leadership qualities and what you're trying to instill in the younger generation different from what the older people have done, especially people from your time?
Let me take it from this angle. Africa is not developing. Africa generally is failing, and we're lagging behind, right? And the reason we're lagging behind is because, straight to the point, we don't get the leaders who will cause the change. We can talk about all sorts of things, mindset and whatever. It all boils down to the leadership, right? So we ask ourselves, when you have a problem, whom do you see? You see an expert.
Yep.
So you are sick, you see a medical doctor.
That's right.
You have a toothache, you see a dentist, not just a medical doctor. So once you're able to diagnose your problem, you go and see an expert. And the expert has been created and trained to become that expert, right? So Africa, our problem is about leadership. How do we resolve? We need the kind of leadership that can change this. Not just growing any leader. And what kind of leader do we need? We need a leader with the right values. That's what we call a leader with a revolutionized mindset. Who's going to do things differently? Who's going to create the right environment and culture? And must have the right values. One, it must be God-fearing, because when you fear God, you respect creations of God. You must have respect for everyone. You must have respect for time and systems, because that will make sure that everybody is treated equitably.
Yeah.
And you must be honest and be a person of integrity. Now, if you look at the trend, the leadership, and especially the young ones that are coming, it's scary because they're going against the grain. So our mission is to create these kind of leaders because they can cause the change, given the opportunity. And so basically, to keep it simple, it's like giving hope a chance. And giving hope a chance is that if the chance should come, if we don't have such leaders, that chance will go.
But you have friends,
Loads of them.
Right, some maybe in high positions in the country and other African countries. Do you not have these conversations with them? Do they not understand what you expect of them?
You can have these conversations with them, but they are too engrossed in what they are doing, maybe getting corrupt or amassing wealth and things, and they think.
So then that brings me back to the same question. Then how is what PK Amoabeng Leadership Foundation doing how is that going to differ from what the average Ghanaian or the average Nigerian has seen as what the leaders do? Because they all do the same thing.
No. So we are creating leaders, especially from the young people, leaders with the right values and right mindset about what brings development. You can say that It's a little considering the problem that we have.
Yeah.
But at least you cast your bread upon the waters. So that if you have these leaders with the right mindsets and the values, and they come into the system, you have a chance of changing the narrative. But if you don't have enough of these leaders, you have no chance. That's why I'm saying that we're trying to give hope a chance. Because we must hope for a change.
Right.
And to get that possible change, you must create the leaders who have the mindset to cause it.
When we sit here and we talk about leadership, I'm sure every person listening to the audio or video understands that we're talking about government office. We're talking about the high offices. We're not talking about the CEO of a small company.
Yeah.
Right. People who can effect proper change.
Yeah. Changes can happen at various levels.
Okay.
So you even start your own company employing 5, 6 people. Yeah. You lead by example. You lead by putting systems in place. You lead by having the right culture and things that these people also go and form their own companies or live even in their homes. The culture that you create, they get involved in it, they get imbibed with it, and they can cause a change. But effectively, as you put it, the biggest effect will come from the president. And when I say leadership, I'm not saying the president and his people. I'm talking about the president of the country. If the president has the kind of values that we're talking about, we will see immediate change in Ghana or any other country.
But doesn't it always look like it starts off with what Captain is saying is awesome. He's going to be a great leader. Then they put him in the position and then boom, the true nature of the man comes out.
It's not the true nature of the man that comes out. It's the system that makes demands on the people, on the leader. We have democracy, right? That dispensation will never, ever, as I say, get us out of this mess. Because it's managed by political parties. And looking at the politics that we have now, the political party must amass a lot of wealth, which they will use to convince the people or assuage the people for them to vote for them. So by the time we get a leader as a president, the machinery that I put in there is in debt and owes a lot of favors, a lot of monies, and he knows it. And they have to pay back and make with interest and make profit and build war chests for the next election. The only way to do that is to be dishonest and be corrupt.
But then how do we take ourselves out of that system?
What
will be a better system from your point of view?
You're going too fast. I'll answer you. We must look at our democracy again and tweak it so that it's certainly not one man, one vote. I don't believe in one man, one vote. It will never give Africa and Ghana, for that matter, the leader that we want. By tweaking it, I mean democracy is by representation, right? So we choose people to represent it in parliament and represent it whatever in the executive. Why should we all vote with its cost and all this? So we can actually go through, for example, and this is theoretical, go through a referendum and say that this class of people should vote for us to choose president, right? And we must identify a class, knowledgeable, not easily bribable, and let them vote for us. So we vote for these people to vote for us. It's still very democratic.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And it's less expensive, so people who have the right values will get into office without the load or the debts that they have to accrue before they get there. And they will be judged on issues because this special group, people who have the right intellect and exposure and things like that. And they then choose for us. This is only theoretical. But we need to do something. Because if you don't innovate and you are in a rut, you will stay there and rot.
If I take the conversation down a bit, because I think it was getting a bit too deep into what we can do. And I have had conversations with people who said, oh, let's dissolve political parties and let them go. And then, anybody can come in and then, prove that they are worthy of the seat. But, it's not really my thing. we have two problems here.
Yeah.
You've just described heavily that our biggest issue on the continent is the final seat at the top, the leaders at the top.
How we choose our president.
But then we also have a problem at the base level,
That
which
problem
is
is not a problem.
the mindset of the people.
No, I don't want to
Okay.
hear. I don't want to hear that.
Okay.
There are murderers in America more than here. They kill, even go to schools and kill. But that economy is still the biggest economy. Now, when you are made the commander-in-chief, president, controlling everything as our constitution is stipulated, you should deploy the powers that you have and the institutions that you have to make sure that this country develops. Period. Don't tell us to. When they tell them fix the country, they say you should fix yourself. Who tells you that I should fix myself? You collect taxes from me. You have armed forces, you have everything. You have the courts, you have the prisons, you have everything. And you must fix the country. Don't come to me and say I should fix myself. If I do what is wrong or what is stipulated by the systems is wrong, you actually sanction. And people should know that, yes, you'll be sanctioned.
You're speaking because you're coming from military background. So the discipline is there, right?
You have to be disciplined enough to say that, listen, what has happened? This is the law. What did he do? Yes. You don't look his color, his family, his tribe. Let the systems work.
So then, Sam Jonah a few days ago went to UPSA and then he was having a conversation. He said that people should do, 6 months national service in the military. What would be your take on that?
I know where he's coming from because the best leadership training is in the armed forces. I experienced it. But Ghana can't institute that.
Okay.
It's too expensive. And look at what we did with even free SHS. We couldn't do it properly. Now, I think if I have the figures right, we graduating something like over 100,000 people from universities.
Mm.
Can you imagine the logistics it will require to take these people through military training for even 2 weeks?
Mm.
We can't afford it. Maybe we could do some partial, that some people you apply, and we can take a few that we have the monies for. But it will be a necessary activity in the lives of young people. PK Amoabeng Leadership Foundation, after we selected the people who form the cohort, the first action we take is take them to Jungle Warfare School for only 1 week.
Yep, I actually read that.
Yeah, for 1 week. And if you look at what the transformation they go through with only 1 week, and of course, when they come out of there, they've been through endurance, they've been through teamwork, they've seen that they need to respect the next person, and they have direct interaction with the CEO of Jungle Warfare School and the officers, and they've had experience with shooting or holding a weapon and wearing military camouflage and things like that. And then we continue from there with boot camps and Zoom meetings and other activities, and then we give them intentional mentors, one-on-one. And as I sit here, I'm a very happy man because I've seen the change that we have caused in the first 20 people. They talk differently.
Mm.
It's about loving everybody. It's about systems. It's about keeping time. It's about being God-fearing. It's about having the right values and the right mindset. And we put 20 of them into the system. Hopefully, if people will align with us and support us, we can grow it to 50 and eventually move on to having a proper academy where they come and they have the military training and the boot camps, and we can draw a proper curriculum for them and throw these people into the system so we can give hope a chance. Because you see, it's not just that things are not working. We are losing the people who have the right values. Because the people who do right are the losers in this country in the end.
Mm.
And the crooks, the people with no values, those who just join onto any bandwagon and make any money at all, it's becoming the norm. Because it's difficult to survive when you have the right values. And what they do, most of the youth, is leave the country. Because maybe they've been trained not to do certain things, but then they can't survive without doing those things. So the obvious thing is to go out of the country. And it's sad, because we must develop our country. This is where God put us. And it is our responsibility to change the narrative, which is horrible at this stage.
Me, I want to find out, has it always been your conversation from the beginning of your entrepreneurship?
I guess so, but not so vividly. Because what made me start, let's say, Unique Trust was because I experienced firsthand how difficult or impossible it was to raise a loan to do business.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, if people can't do business, how do they employ people? How do they put food on their table and so on and so forth? And here I was, second class, upper school of administration, accounting major, military training, decent gentleman, disciplined, 15 years of doing business, chartered accountant, SEMA, and I could not raise money from the bank. I had the collateral, I had the house. I couldn't raise money from the bank. And I said, no, we are not being fair to Ghanaians, because I know a lot of people with bigger ideas and better ideas that if they should succeed, we can see the ripple effect on the economy and everybody. So I will change that narrative. I will try to lend. And that is how I started Unique Trust. Of course, with all its problems, but if you know what we were able to do with it, with a staff of about 3 initially and myself.
Yeah.
By 2012, we owned a bank, we owned UT property, we owned all these things, and we're employing directly over 2,500 people.
And I think you did amazing.
Well, we did what we could.
But what I want to understand is, at the peak of success, business is working, everything is working. Where was the mindset of, let's train leaders for tomorrow? Let's build integrity in the people.
Good question. So I was busy.
I
was doing something, training leaders, training workers, putting food on people's table, helping them to think about themselves. So I wasn't thinking about training leaders, but I was training leaders, but in a small setting. So the reason why I say it's a good question is that UT's story ends the way it's ended. And I sit back and reflect. I'm in court though, and I said, listen, notwithstanding all that's happening, I think my story is not ended. And I have been blessed with so much experiences, good health, long life. I need to put this out because it can change lives and can change the leadership story and possibly change the narrative for Ghana. So to your point, it could be part of God's design to say that let the UT go. I want to do something with this guy. It could be.
It could be, but on our level, not the divine level, on our level.
I don't know divine level. I'm only saying it could be.
Right? On our level, do you think that sometimes when we, at the peak of our success, we can be found as we lose track of our purpose because we chase other things?
I said earlier on that we do not know the purpose for which we are in this world.
Okay.
And we're only human beings. We have limited capacity, mind, and everything. So long as you're doing something which is good and making some contribution, you think you're all right. And it is said that the biggest enemy of greatness is good. So long as you're doing good, you don't look for greatness because you're all right. So you have to go into deep reflection with it. But it will only come when you're a bit idle.
Okay.
If you're a bit idle, then you are looking around this. What do I do next? For example, with me, when we were very successful, I used to be afraid. And I was very humbled by what we were doing or what God was doing with my life. And I used to pray and said, God, why me? Why me, Kukurantubi boy? Am I being give you all this recognition and things? Now, when things really went downhill too, or the bank was closed down, or license withdrawn, or whatever, and I went to pray. What I said, you are a wonderful God. So God, what is next?
Right.
And people say, oh, you bounce back. And I said, maybe that's not what God intends. It's not about bouncing back as in forming another financial institution, improving. I have nothing to prove to anybody. I've gone through a phase. And I'm asking God, what next? And the answer I'm getting is like, look at your country. Country is not going anywhere. What is the problem? It's about the mindset of the people. Yes. But then, how do you resolve it? Because the problem is about mindset, but the mindset of the leadership.
Okay.
And therefore, the only thing I know is that when you have a problem, you have to create solvers. You create them. You don't just wish and pray that one day there'll be a good leader. No, no. Create the people who can solve it. Then you give hope a chance. So to your point, when you're doing good, there's no pressure on you to do better because you're all right, you're satisfied. It's when you have a challenge, then you have to think, say, hey, what's happening? What am I useful for? What can I do? So that is why a lot of people, leaders who are in high positions, probably are not thinking of what I'm thinking about. But it's okay. You don't have to do it yourself to cause a change. And as I said, as you said, I have a board of people who have achieved something. By them helping, by other CEOs and successful helping, they'll be fulfilling a great need. So the first year of this leadership course, I had to prove the concept, what I'm about. Now I have a bit of content. You see that we've taken the guys from leader training. You can see the products that are coming out of it. So now I can go to people and say, listen, let's do this together and do it bigger for the sake of this country. But my age is 72, what do I need? Not much. But I want to sleep and sleep well and die peacefully.
I still want to focus on the point that the man that is causing the revolution in the leaders we would need for tomorrow has a certain level of discipline, tasted a certain level of success, glory. We've all seen that from the stories that we've read in these books. But these principles that you stood so well by, have they only just grown over the years? Or were they never non-existent? Because I'm saying that because you've led a team that has lost a bank as a leader. Because we want to be able to draw lessons and say, okay, this man is an awesome man. He's teaching us a lot of things. But what lessons can we draw from the experience he had?
Okay, if I understand you correctly, we created a company that was unique in every sense.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how we were successful. And take me out of this statement. So we started with about 4. And we started growing with the normal challenges. What made us successful is because we created a culture that was different.
Yep.
At UT, everyone was respected. The laws and the policies were such that we were not giving preferences. My brother was sacked. My cousin was sacked. My director was sacked. My director's son was sacked. A lot of people were sacked. Not that I sacked them. I loved everyone.
The company did.
No, they themselves did.
Okay.
Because you know the policies, and you go on orientation, you know the HR policy and everything, you know the sanctions that are applicable. So normally I don't even, people were a bit amazed that I didn't intervene most times, and I let it happen. But everybody knew the consequences of what they were supposed to. So they said some people have done it and say, oh, Jesus Christ, the guy is gone. Everybody knows the guy is gone. But we'll go through a process. Investigate, write a report, whatever committee, and then they come to me and said, this is the outcome of it, and this is the recommendation. Take my green pen and said, okay, you know the policy, and you have infringed policy number so and so and so and so and so, and your defense, and you go. So we made systems work. We respected everybody. Me as CEO, I had a complete open door policy. Open door in the sense that my door was literally open. And if you get there and there's nobody in my office, you walk in. Even if there's somebody in my office, you can say that, Chief, I'm waiting. It's okay. And this applied to all my staff and visitors as well. But visitors had to be controlled by my secretary and say, okay, you are next and you go after this and so on and so forth. My telephone number was in every branch, reception branch of UT, the bank, or whatever, and properties and everything. And anybody could call me and said, If you are dissatisfied, call the CEO on this number.
Wow.
The only advantage is that people didn't believe that it was my number, so they were not calling.
Okay.
I ran the company in a very transparent way. For example, if you are the manager or relationship manager for a client and the client is having a problem, you go and bring the client and bring the file, and we all sit down.
Right.
Not that come and see the boss, no. We sit down and say, what's the problem? You describe it, and we talk to the client. And, for example, we go for Keep Fit with the staff. From there, they come to my home. We drink, we dance, we eat. Those who want to swim, jump into my swimming pool. And those who want to use my gym, use my gym. Because I felt the work was from them. But put that aside, that was a bit too much.
Okay.
Because of where we are coming from. But then it was run, and I had one-on-one with every staff member at least once a year, where I sit with the staff from cleaner to my DMD once a year. And we're thinking about your family, how you're doing, your general condition, career development, anything else on your mind. And from those meetings, I could cause changes. I could come and say, this guy is too bright to be here. Move the person here. Sometimes they even oppose it because they think they are confident. I say, no, they can do better. And I move them. And I love my people. I love all people, really. You know, I know of companies where if the CEO is coming, nobody stays in the corridor. And he goes alone into the lift as if he's God's deputy. When I got to my office in UT, the women there will come and hug me before they allow me to go to the lift. Yeah, and I loved it because we're going to start work together, but must be happy and so on and so forth. So that is what made us grow the way we did. And of course, not only did we get acknowledgements locally, we had acknowledgements external. We had to go and talk at Stanford, at Oxford, we had invitation. We had Johnny Walker's brand associated with our brand, and a whole lot of things. Now, so the values that we use to grow the company from like ground zero to whatever, it's possible that if you do half of that, this country's narrative will change. Take, for example, the president decides that he'll be on time for every appointment, and the subordinates who don't do the same will be sanctioned. And he sanctions, let's say, one of his ministers for being late. Can you imagine?
They would all sit up.
And the time we will save. Now, to meet somebody who is in a public office, sometimes 3 months, you can't find him. We are sick. Because when somebody doesn't respect your time, it simply means he doesn't respect you.
That's true.
And that's what we go through all the time. That's why I say we need a change of mindset. When we get a little bit of something, position, money, material things, we become something else. But these are worldly things. They should not define you. What should define you is respect for the world in which you are, respect for other people, and love for other people. And then we go to church more than everybody. So why do we go to the church for? What do we hear? So we have a big problem.
So then I guess that goes back to the point I made, which is the people also have a problem.
They don't. You can make them change.
Okay. By authority.
The leader will make them change.
Right.
The people who came to UT came from homes where maybe, let's excuse my description, they were not even brought up properly. But you come and you see the culture there, and you realize that, I'm going to be taking care of these people and I'm loved. Of course, if you don't change, you'll be sacked. But you can change. And I saw a lot of people change and become decent people. And I gave opportunity to anyone. So long as you qualify, you come. So you can't have saints before you get progress. No. All you need is a good leader who's saying, this is the way we're going. And if you want to look at Africa, one person you can't miss is Kagame.
Yep.
I was trying to read I read most of the book, which was written to paint Kagame black. The name of the book is Do Not Disturb. The more I read the book, the more I love the man.
Even though it's supposed to be negative.
Yes, to
Right.
paint him black. The point is he has a mission.
Well, he's a military man as well, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So
He has a mission to move his 13.5 million people from their current poverty and hatred and everything into a developed state. That is his vision. That is his mission as well. If you kill 100 people and 30 million people are being developed, what are you talking about? You know, when you go to the army, you know some funny thing.
No.
When you go for even training, they say 5% casualty is allowed. So if
even training.
Yeah. So if you're 100 people and 5 people die, nothing has happened. They will investigate and everything, but I mean, it's within acceptable casualty.
Hey, over here, people will not accept that.
Well,
people will not accept that.
As a matter of the leader setting the pace and the tone and making the systems work, it's not difficult. Yeah. Listen, talking about leadership, sometimes when I say leadership is not difficult, people don't understand what I mean.
But Mr. Amoabeng, you know, when you say it's not difficult, right?
Let me qualify.
Okay, go on. Mm-hmm.
You know the guy called Mark Zuckerberg?
Yes.
Okay, we all know him.
Yeah.
That guy who comes CNN wearing T-shirts, black
right.
T-shirt or
That's
something.
Right.
He's a multi-billionaire, right? Is he such a great leader? No. But he actually founded a great product service. That's all he did. And the systems and environment are there to support him to become a billionaire and become a great leader. So he's not special. That's all I'm trying to say. Now, leadership is difficult in Africa and in Ghana because the environment is so toxic, and therefore the people are evil and bad and jealous and destroyers, so that you delegate, you must go back and monitor and do this and do that, and people are cutting behind you and so on and so forth. So leadership is difficult in Africa, but leadership in itself is not supposed to be difficult like that. But here, it's really
I think I get your point. So you do recognize that the average person has got a mindset problem. However, leadership can fix that.
Yes.
Right. Because in the beginning, I thought you didn't recognize the problems.
No, we do have a problem. We have a huge problem. That should be another topic. If you like, we have another session, and I'll tell you about it.
Because I put bins outside to allow my people on the street to drop it in there. Somebody stole it twice. Right? So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could be a saint.
Yeah.
But when you drop in the midst of a lot of idiots, it's not going to work.
It is true. So the problem is not that we have a good mindset, but the leadership can fix it. And I tell you, to use a local example, my very, very respected chief, King of Kushia, go to the town, no filth. He's put dustbins there. If you put something down, the kid, they say, will tell you, say, Chief. You know? So
wow, it's been
Kushia
done.
is one. I mean, and it's done in a few other villages I've read. You know, depending on who is the chief and the value that they have, you can change the mindset of the people. That's why I say that when you have prisons and you have soldiers and everything, why are you coming to us to blame us for not having the right mindset? You set a tone, and let people comply. But it's difficult here because of the criticisms and the against that you get. Because take, for example, UK. You are not supposed to park on a double yellow line. Right? The king will not park there.
Yep.
It's not that whether he can or he can't doesn't even come in. He does not park there. But here, and we cripple the systems. And I said, listen, the mindset is wrong, but we should have harsher institutions with harsher sanctions happening like hot plate.
But have you not seen this regime before? Did it make any change in your own view?
You mean the military regime?
Yeah.
To some extent, but then the point is, it is not administered across board most of the time.
Okay.
Somebody is arrested, and then you see a chief go to intervene. Somebody's arrested, a powerful pastor goes in. You are arrested, your uncle comes from the village. But you know, let me give you an example which probably will put this in the right perspective.
Okay.
when a child is growing up in, say, the US, the child knows by their systems, by their traditions, that at the age 18, he or she is leaving the house.
That's right.
And the child plans towards this. So at age 18, sometime like clockwork, dead on the day, he comes to say that, Dad, I've got a job here. I'm moving in with Derek to share a flat or whatever. Or that I still haven't finished, but I want to pay rent for maybe the next 6 months before I leave. The child is, himself or herself comes to tell you that. So running a house and planning of your pension, your future is easy. You are not responsible for all the kids. In Ghana, somebody grows up, goes to work, goes on pension after 60 years, and then he comes to the family house to say that, hey, this is for our grandfather. Me too. Derek, don't laugh. This is a serious program.
No. Because
you know?
It's very funny. Yeah.
That is the mindset.
Yeah.
What you have to fix. Why can be fixed from the top?
Goodness.
In fact, this big guy.
No.
Because the guys tend to say, what's It's at home. And it's done. Not only guys, accounts, and we all do it. And we go back and say, no, hey, you know what? Our grandfather left this property, and after you've gone on pension.
Yeah.
But the mindset is wrong. When somebody at 18 is begging the father to leave. So we need to work on our traditions and cultures and the values that are associated with them.
That was definitely the thing that made you talk about the abundance mindset.
Yeah.
I was listening to one of your conversations and I said, nah, that's deep. Definitely when it comes, it's something I would want you to elaborate on that, because you described how our culture has made us the way we are, and it's very difficult for us to change.
Yeah, the abundance theory, I call it, is simply this. When you have children and you decide that one of them is your love child, and therefore you dote on that child, anything they want, you give it to them. You don't let them face any hardships at all. Invariably, that child will not turn out well.
That's true.
Yeah? Okay. I don't know the ways of God, but if you look at the black man, God put the black man on the best part of the earth, which is around the equator.
Yep.
Cancer and Capricorn. And even time, there's not much temperature. There's not much difference in temperature the whole year round. And it's green all through forests. The soil is extremely fertile. You throw anything, it germinates. And food free. Even when I was a kid, as we speak today, if you go to Kukrantumi, my village, not too far from Accra, some people don't own farms. They just take their dog and go into the bush to forage. Okay. And they pick food. Kontomire is free. Somebody's plantain is hanging free and getting ripe. And then they get free crab, free emre,
pepper,
everything free. The food they will eat, in terms of its nutritional value, that you won't get to eat for free. So what I'm trying to say, when you create such a condition, two things I want to say. Human beings or living things adapt to their environment.
That's true.
Or the environment shapes the lives of all human beings or all living things. The environment will shape you, your style and your culture and everything. So we blacks built our cultures, traditions around the free thing, the abundance. So everything you want is around. Why are you going to stress yourself? So simply, and unfortunately, we stopped thinking. You didn't have to store food for winter. You didn't have to put anything aside for the next day. Not only that, there was no natural hazard occurring. No earthquake, no tsunami, no tornado, no snow, nothing. So typically, time didn't mean anything to us. If you like, go to your village. By the time they ask you finally that acquire by Derek, so why are you here? About 1 hour is gone.
That's true.
And nobody cares because what you eat is available. Next 10 years, it will be available. So why should we rush? Now, and we've lived in this situation for at least hundreds of years. So we formed our habits and culture around. It's actually become our DNA, if you ask me. So we depend on nature. So whether you are in Soweto, you are in Bronx, you are in Manima, you are wherever, you see the black man, his behavior. We pee anywhere, we drop things anywhere, we don't respond to time. It is in our nature. Times have changed. Difficulties are coming with urbanization and everything. But you don't change your DNA overnight, over a few years. So we need to apply systems more than those who face hardship, because they face hardships, they learn to be interdependent and live with people and respect people. Now, that is not even the whole story. Because of the abundance, the people they have become evil in a sense.
Okay.
Let me explain that. Maybe evil
Okay.
is too harsh a word. Because with the abundance, everyone was self-sufficient. Right? I put my hamlet somewhere, I get married, I have my children, we eat, we do whatever. I don't need you. You also don't need me.
That's right.
Right? So if I see you trying to do something extraordinary, that direct man, what does he want to prove? I will bring you down. Because you want to prove that you are better than me, I can't do anything. And when I bring you down, I don't lose anything. So we have petty jealousies and enviness and things, putting people down. It comes natural with the abundance. Because of the abundance, I don't need you and I don't care when I destroy you. All I care for is probably my immediate family and my tribe people because of maybe funerals and things. Finished. So we become, unfortunately, a very endangered species because we don't love ourselves and we don't go for the general good. General good, we don't care about people. Africans don't think about people who are not close to them. That is why when it comes to jobs, it comes to anything, it's like, it's my man, it's my man, it's my man, it's my man. They're not thinking about the general good. And you can't run a country like that. You can't. So even when we vote people into power, they surround themselves with their families and friends and things, and they cannot hold them responsible. They don't check them because they think so long as he and his family are okay, they don't care about the rest. So we have a problem, but we can change it through the right leadership. So that's the essence, in the short term, of the abundance theory. The abundance that we have has actually caused us a lot of harm. We are not disciplined, we don't have the right cultures, we don't love people, we don't do for the general good, we only think myopically about ourselves, and a whole lot of things. And we need to break that chain, that cycle.
Wow. That, I was very quiet listening because the first time I heard the concept, I said, nah, this is deep. And, unfortunately, it might stay with us for many, many, many more years.
Yep.
It may not change in my lifetime, but the few that want to make a change, they will. The one or two people that understand these conversations and want to set themselves on a path of development. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, I'm enjoying the conversation so far. I still have 5 more questions I want to take. And yeah, me, it's just several turns in my mind, but subscribe and become part of the family and leave a comment. If you're not enjoying it, there's another video to go and watch. If you are, let me know why. You don't want to
I'm okay.
Okay. When you spoke about this whole thing, I started thinking deeply about where a young man has started a financial institution, done amazing, couldn't even get a license from the regulator. Then, a bank became available, an international bank purchased the bank. And then, pretty fast, as an entrepreneur, you've gone through a lot of roller coaster of whether success, down, and all of that. But I really want to understand You know,
Put it anyhow.
I need to be very careful.
Put
You
it
know,
in, no,
I
put
really
it
wanna,
anyhow.
I really want to understand the one thing you think you did that may have caused the roller coaster.
I mean, the collapse of the bank.
Yeah, the one thing as a CEO.
In the first place, there's a third book which is going to come out. I keep postponing it, but come out by early next year, and it's purely about the bank. And it's going to talk about how we built a bank, the problem that we had, the achievement that we had, the successes, and how we went into difficulties, and finally it's collapsed. So the third book will talk about it. But you're talking what me as CEO, what I did.
Just one decision making that you think, boom, this may have been the reason why. Because I believe that as a leader, we must be, we must own up to our decision
No, it's a
makings,
good
right?
question. It's a good question. No, to it. I'm just trying to think. Once you take on a task, failure is part of what can happen to you.
Yep.
Now, I had been the CEO of the UT whole story from inception. I mean, I started as a co-founder and I was the CEO from early days. I wasn't young when I started. That's something that I want to tell young people. When I started UT, and that 3 people in the Tantamount, I was 45 years old.
Ooh.
So people are struggling and think they cannot find their feet and they have regrets at the age of 30 or something. They should keep on fighting. It's not late. So I started at 45 years old. And we had a trail of successes and grew and all these things. And I told myself and told a few people around me that at 60, I'm going to resign. They said, why? I said, because the pension age in Ghana is 60 and I love systems. Now, when I was 60 years was in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. And at that time, Bank of Ghana had raised the minimum capital of banks to 60 million, right? From 7 million to 60 million, and we had to raise 60 billion. And the UT story was good, so we got the IFCs and DEGs and Investec and other people wanting to be part. So we actually floated shares for them to be a part of UT.
Okay.
So IFC had shares in UT, DEG had shares in UT, Investec, and Ghanaians. Maybe 15,000 of them, 10 shares, 50 shares. And the international investors, IFCs who came in, demanded, when they heard that I said I was going at 70, they said, no, I'm the guy who has held the company together all this while. And they wouldn't put in their money and just see the CEO walk out. So I had to break that resolve that I had to say that I would stay on. They said that I should stay for at least 2 years past the age 60. Okay. And this was 2012, was when I was 60. 2013, things started going down a bit. We didn't make the profit that we projected.
Okay.
For so many reasons. And then 2014, we actually made a superficial loss. The loss was dependent on whether we made some provision for some bad debts and things, and we're talking to Bank of Ghana. So I knew if you should write off those debts, it's a loss. 2015, we're not getting on top of it. And I called my board and I told my board that, listen, in Chi, we say, in Sukra, Che, or Tuomwa, sent bum. I think I've stayed for too long. I wanted to go at 60, and past 60, things are heading not in the right direction. So I want to step down. How many Ghanaians create businesses and then they more or less sack themselves? But I insisted. My board was saying, and I said, no. I think for the sake of the staff, investors, and everything, we need a new pair of eyes, a new pair of hands to take us out of this situation. So I resigned in December 2015. Yes, at the age of 63, right? That's a decision that I took. motivated by me myself, in the interest of other people. So if you ask me a question that what did I do wrong, I find it difficult to answer. I did it. Because when I even saw that things were not going, I sacrificed myself.
Right. Somebody may say you may have seen that things were beginning to go downhill. That's why you wanted to pull out a lot earlier, right? Maybe you had an instinct. I don't know.
60 was 60 and 60 was 2012. That was when we were at our peak. But then I couldn't go because of the need to raise additional capital and the conditions or the covenants that they put around it.
So you wouldn't say that decision-making wise, you did not?
If you go back a bit, and people want to say that if we had not gone into bank, we would have gone through those problems. We didn't decide to become a bank. We had UT Financial Services, which was doing very well. We had UT Logistics, UT Private Securities, UT Properties, UT Life, UT Nigeria, UT South Africa. It was a great story, right? And then we always moved on based on the strategies that we sat, all of us, sat and fashioned out. It wasn't just me.
On the board?
No, I mean, management
right.
took a decision that, listen, we have to go here, we have to go to Nigeria, we have to do this, we have to do that. And then at one of these strategy sessions, somebody drew a hint and said, why don't we own a bank apart from the financial services? Not to become a bank, but to own a bank in the group. And it was a daunting task. How do we get a bank? But then once we set our mind to things in UT, we achieved it. So I said, we'll look into it. And I had the biggest role of raising the money and finding a banking license. And I sat down and I assessed myself. And I said, listen, if you look at the banking landscape at the time, I'm talking about maybe 2009 thereabouts, a banking landscape. All the banks that we had in Ghana were either foreign-owned banks, state-owned banks, state institutions-owned banks, or banks that belong to former governors of Bank of Ghana, period. And I looked at it and I said, nobody will give me a license.
Yeah.
The only way to get a banking license is to buy one. And so long story short, we put UT on the stock exchange, raised $27 million. That's the sale of, we sold off 30% of UT Financial Services. Not just the whole group of just UT Financial Services. And the market cap was $90 million. If you look at the company that we started with less than $20,000,
wow.
And we clocked a valuation of $90 million. So we sold 30%, raised $27 million to buy the bank, ready to recapitalize and so on and so forth. Soon as we finished buying the bank, Bank of Ghana increased the minimum capital from $7 million to $60 million. Now, long story short, the only way we could control the bank, because if you bring investors in, you lose the bank that you bought. So the only way we could control the bank was sit and strategize to merge our activities into the bank so that UT Financial Service net worth will give us
a lot of cash flow. Right.
So we had challenges and we had to take decisions on the spot, and a lot went into it. So then we had to merge UT Financial Service with the bank, and that had this problem.
Mr. Amoabeng, when you had all of this and then overnight you heard, license revoked, this, that, how are you feeling? Like at the spot, if you take your mind back to.
No, I've told the story so many times. I was in Kurantumi and I was probably the last person to hear of it because 8 a.m. was when I picked my phone and realized I had a lot of missed calls, and I called my daughter and I said, what's this about? And I said, well, you haven't listened to the news? I said, no. And they said, well, any station, they said the UT Bank has been closed. I said, wow, okay. Now,
how were you feeling
I was
at
surprised.
The time?
No, at the time I wasn't running UT Bank.
Well, but you still were involved.
It was my baby, I know.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I was surprised because at the time, we were in negotiation with Bank of Ghana. So I was thinking, if there's anything, they will tell us their position. And the last time we had a meeting with them, that was probably a month before, they said, and we gave them the option of some investors, and they said, okay, they evaluate it, and then inform us so we can, because a listed company, the bank was a listed company, so we can do an emergency general meeting and inform our shareholders. So we were waiting for them. So I was surprised that, you guys, we had a meeting and you were evaluating and you haven't told us anything about whether the investors, you like them or you don't like them. And you haven't told us about whether you should have an emergency general meeting or not. But here you are that you pulled the rug from under us. But you see, worldly things don't move me much.
Has it always been the case?
Yes.
Or just recently?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I tell people, and some people decide not to believe, but at any point in my life, from when I started UT or Unique Trial, I always have one dressing shoe, one, and I'll change it in the shoe shop. If I think it's worn out, I will just take them off and take a new one. That's it.
Wow.
I always have one watch. Now I have two. because Caveman gave me one.
Right. Yeah, I saw it when you came.
So material things, as I told you, you're supposed to acquire them, but to use them to impact the world.
Okay.
Of course, you will enjoy a bit, but most people tend to let it define them. Then when they don't have it anymore, then they think the world has come to an end. But if you understand that material things, worldly things are for you to use to impact the world, and of course enjoy a little bit of it. When it's taken away from you, it's not a big deal. I can always afford one shoe. And I've never built houses for them to say that they're going to take my house, or people will say that. As soon as the trouble started, I sold my big house and moved into an apartment, and I'm happy.
Wow. If you open the box.
Which box?
A box. Mysterious box. Full of opportunities. You can be whoever you want to be. No limitations, nothing. Just choose and be. Who would you be?
Who? Choose who?
Choose anything, and you will be it. Who would you be?
Oh, President of Ghana.
The president of the country.
Yeah. Because then I can impact widely. Because my prayer the prayer that I pray every morning is that God should bless me and expand my territory. I want to do so much with the life that He's giving me and the blessings He's giving me.
You know where I stand? I always say that this is the reason why sometimes a lot of politicians tend to clamp down on entrepreneurs who are doing great. Because they've built resilience, determination. They are built for leadership, entrepreneurs. So when the politicians usually see you coming up and then you have any ambition whatsoever to occupy that office, they want to break your legs. I don't know whether you're of that view.
No.
Okay.
You see, for a country to be great or to be developed, it has to have to create GDP, big GDP.
Yeah.
So we say that a country is prosperous because they have GDP per capita, which is high. Now, the drivers of the GDP are the CEOs.
That's right.
Right? Now, the politicians have to create the environment
conducive.
Yes. So what is happening is, because our politics has become dirty and they need so much money, they have become the creators of the CEOs. So, for example, if you are getting successful, they must align with you to make some of the money to propagate their agenda. And if you are not on their side, then of course you should be on the other side, so then they should cripple you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so because they've taken over the role of... So one thing that I always say is that it's become a situation where the tail is wagging the dog. Instead of the dog wagging the tail. So the politicians now determine who will be a successful businessman, who will not be a successful businessman, whose business we have to cripple, all in their interest. That is very dangerous. Because they are supposed to create an enabling environment, be neutral, let the institutions work, and let the good people, the entrepreneurs, hardworking entrepreneurs succeed. But no, because of their own interests, they allow their favorite CEOs to succeed, and those that they think are a threat, they will try and cripple.
For me, what I like is the fact that even though you are not in the high office, you're still doing something for young people. because I always say that if you have something to do for the people, we don't need to wait for you to occupy the high office before you do it. And you've already started that with the PK Amoabeng Leadership Foundation. So I think that's amazing. I just think that maybe some of these conversations could start with your friends in power.
And friends in power.
Yes, so that you can instill some of the things you believe in, some of your policies, because it's circle,
Do you know
right?
it's difficult to advise somebody who is rich?
I was about to ask you that question. I was about to ask you that question.
Yeah. When someone is rich or powerful, you don't advise them. They think if you were that wise, you are being in that position. Ooh. Yeah. That's the mind of powerful and rich people that I have money more than you want to advise me where to put my money. So talking to them is a bit of a problem. If they want the advice, or you can preach, they want to take it, but they can't take it because the agenda is different.
Yeah. I have just dropped the camera for you over there, and I just wanted to say something to the young people who admire your work so much and the things that you've done and what steps they can take to realize the dreams that they're after.
It's a tough situation. It's a tough environment. It's not easy. It won't come easy. But the thing is, when there are problems, it means there are opportunities. And for some reason, the Creator or your God put you in Ghana. And you must have a purpose in Ghana. And luckily, there are a lot of problems, which means there are a lot of things you can do to change the narrative. Now, it's something that I believe in, but maybe it's a bit funny. When you abandon Ghana and leave Ghana, you've disappointed God, because God put you here because He wants you to solve a problem here. If you go to learn or advance yourself and come back, it's okay. It's the same story. But if you leave completely, you've disappointed God. That's the first thing I tell people. Stay with the hardships, build the necessary capacities, learn hard, work hard, learn great values, learn to love people, learn to respect people, stay happy, and look for your opportunities. But when the opportunities come and you are not prepared, you don't have the necessary education in that field, you don't have the exposures and expertise in that field, you can't do anything with it. Keep on acquiring expertise, knowledge, love, great health, and the opportunities will come for you to deploy it to the benefit of your people. Then you would have resolved God's purpose for you.
Wow. That was a big sigh. As men, who set ourselves on the path of entrepreneurship, we go through a lot of challenges, Sometimes you wake up in the morning and the messages coming on your phone, things are happening and you have to make decisions on the spot, and it can be a lot of work. So if truly you feel that burning desire in you and there's something you want to do, go after it. But thank you so much for being here with me and listening to this conversation. I definitely think you have learned something. And if you haven't, I don't know, man. Just leave a review down. Let me know why you didn't. And I'll see you in the next episode. My name is Derek Abaite. Let's stay connected.